If you find this video, the chances are it's not your first time hearing of this concept of the higher self. This idea is so often explored in the spiritual communities, amongst soul seekers, people trying to find their purpose. But sometimes I find the idea of our higher self to be a bit confusing. Like, who are they? What is that version of me? I like to think of my higher self as the most enlightened version of me, the version of me that is not connected to my ego, to my desires, just my pure truth and completely in alignment with love. Still, I think this whole concept of our higher self can seem a bit elusive and like something that is just out of reach. I felt disconnected from my higher self and myself in that matter for majority of my life. Only in the past year or so that I've actually started to discover who I am. Whilst the past year has been really transformative and full of growth and healing for me, I largely attune a lot of my self-discovery to this connection with my higher self that I've grown and nurtured. When I bought this little book in November last year, I had been reading, listening to podcasts, interviews with creators, actors, all these people that had left their mark on the world, when I noticed something. They all carried a little notebook on their persons at all times. Initially, my intention was to create a space where all of my £1,000,000 ideas could come through onto a page. And these ideas would be historic, key in my creative journey, and completely groundbreaking. So I went to Tyndall's and I bought a little notebook, a little blank notebook for like £3 or £4, and I was so excited for all of these ideas to begin pouring out of my mind and onto these blank pages. Days went by and I forgot to keep the notebook on me. So it just sat on my dining room table for days and days and days, waiting until I had a day. So my first page was more like a journal entry, because what had just happened was so embarrassing and I just needed to get it off my chest and write something down. I'd basically set up an interview for my local nursery with a woman called Katie, and I went there on time, ready for my interview, all prepared, knocked on the door, and the lady come out and she said,
I'm so sorry, but there's not a Katie that works here. I think you've got the wrong nursery.
and oh my god, I was so embarrassed. I was so mortified. I actually felt so dumb. And so I went home and I wrote down in this little notebook. Let me read you what I wrote. I wrote, I've had a day where I've tried hard to make things happen, but they haven't. Big painting, not feeling great. Interview for preschool, fuck up, lol. I know I'm cringe for like writing and text talk, but you just gotta bear with me. And then I also wrote, feeling kinda unfulfilled, lol, question mark. But also not taking it so seriously feels good. And then for some reason underneath I wrote, everything is a mirror. And I know what you're thinking, I'm such a deep thinker, I'm so stoic, I'm so philosophical. I thought it was cringe as well. And I couldn't tell you why I wrote that. But now I'm realising, as I look back through this book, that I was actually communicating with my higher self. I also wrote, things did happen, they went as well as they could have. Those two sentences made me pause and it made me think. Instead of focusing on what had gone wrong, I'd actually shifted my focus to thinking maybe things just happened and they didn't necessarily go right or wrong, they just happened. And that last sentence proved to be true, and in the end I ended up getting a job at that nursery like a month later, and I also ended up covering up that big painting that wasn't feeling great, and the painting that I created on top of it is my favourite painting that I've ever made. So what was being mirrored to me was my perception. And little did I know, my higher self was actually there with me, guiding me through this process, through my writings and my doodles. What was actually going on in this book? I'd actually begun automatic writing. Automatic writing is a tool that I think anybody could work with. Basically just get a pen and a paper and just let whatever comes out come out. It's a process where you connect more of your subconscious mind. The surrealist artists were very inspired by techniques of automatism. So in the early 20th century, when psychiatrists and thinkers like Carl Jung started to explore the subconscious mind, dreams, these altered states, it inspired so many creatives to begin exploring their own realms of their human mind and their psyche. Automatism techniques employed by the surrealist artists recognize that the individual, the creative, could work with these techniques in order to connect and explore their subconscious minds, their deepest thoughts, in order to create art from this trance like free flow state of mind. They used a lot of automatic writing. These artists worked quickly to write without guided thought or intention, just writing down one word after the other, allowing a flow and a trance like state to guide their hand movements. I forgot to add that psychics and mediums and spiritualists have been renowned for using automatic writing to connect to the other side in their spiritual sessions for years. They actually probably inspired the surrealist artists quite a lot as well. So I just thought I'd add that in there because we love mediums. The way I like to use automatic writing to connect with my higher self is through using a question and answer format. So what that looks like is I'll ask openly out loud, or I'll write down my question, and then I'll take a moment to breathe and open up to receive my guidance or the answers. It's really interesting for me to see the different tone of my ego versus my higher self. My ego, as you can imagine, is quite like abrupt, maybe a bit emotional, a bit wordy, whereas my higher self's writing is a lot more simplistic, maybe a bit instructive, gentle, and way more compassionate and understanding. So I've done this a lot now. I like to practice automatic writing when I'm doing tarot readings for myself as well. And I'll just open up beforehand to just channel through whatever information wants to come through. So for me, it's a skill that I've nurtured and grown over time. So if this is something that you're just starting off with, don't feel disheartened if you don't get any information or you just get words that are gobbledygook or it doesn't make sense to you, because I think that's how everyone starts. I started just receiving singular words, or maybe I'd do a little drawing and it'd be like a little symbol or something, and I wouldn't know what it meant. But you've got to start somewhere. So please don't be disheartened if you're wanting answers, but you're just getting a bit confused. It will get better with practice over time. It's a skill. You've got to nurture it and grow it. The more you practice, the easier it will get, and I think the more guidance and information you will receive. I found that another way in which my higher self communicates with me is through automatic drawing. Sometimes I'll get an urge to draw in this little book. These little doodles serve as symbolic and visual messages from my higher self to me. Like this little picture here. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. It's somewhere on the screen. This little picture began as a flash in my mind's eye of some angel wings and some hearts raining down. And then I heard showering you with love. So I wrote that at the bottom of the page and I did this little drawing. Notice that hearts and eyes are symbols that I see repeated throughout this little book of love. And I think that's because my higher self is trying to bring me more self-compassion and more clarity to the experiences that I'm having. Also, clarity to how I view these experiences as well as myself. So, if you're looking for a tool to connect with your higher self, then I do really recommend getting a notepad or a sketchbook or a journal and intentionally creating that space for this connection. I think having an actual set place for this communication is really important, because you can look back at your drawings or your writings and maybe you might find messages or common themes. Maybe you might notice a few things over time. Maybe there are repeated messages or repeated symbols. This is a tool that has helped me feel so much more connected to that higher version of me. And I also think it's a great tool for anybody who's wanting to grow and explore their own psychic gifts, because we all have psychic gifts and we all have spiritual gifts. I would advise you to pair it with another mindful practice, just because having a practice where you can quiet your mind will just help you be more open to receiving the information and guidance that wants to come through you. Your higher self isn't some elusive concept, it is right here and right now, guiding you always. Maybe your higher self even guided you to this video, who knows? My advice is to get writing and to get understanding yourself on a deeper level. Our inner worlds are so important, and I think at a time where the outside world is so demanding of our time, our energy, I think it's actually a really empowering thing to take that energy and time and focus and turn it in towards yourself. I think it's a really powerful thing to do. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you get on with automatic writing and keeping a little book of love. Um, and yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I love you lots. Mwah.